guys! Today, we'll be recapping a story called I'm a Worthless Stepmother, but I Love My Family Madly. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! The narrative opens with a lady remembering how alone she is in the vast mansion, like a forgotten piece of furniture, and how her life changes after gaining a new family. A couple of months ago, in the Duchy of Sorenberg, the Duke's family dined together. Elsa, Duke Wallen's first daughter, accidentally drops a spoon. Karen, the second daughter, quickly points out how careless Elsa is, and Duchess Claudia, Wallen's second wife, agrees. After hearing this, Elsa quickly apologizes to her family while also trying to calm herself. 6 months had passed since they'd been together as a family, and it felt suffocating to be with them. Wallen then tells Elsa that she must stay focused, since in a month she'll be marrying Grand Duke Abel. This news shocks Elsa since it's the first time she's heard about it. Elsa remembers that Abel ended the years-long war between the Empire of Sapril and the neighboring kingdom of Saboa. Rumor has it that he is obsessed with war and that Abel killed his own brother to seize power. Remembering all of this, Elsa can't help but feel anxious. But even with all these rumors, Wallen only tells Elsa that they can't do anything since it's the Emperor's decree. Afterwards, Karen changes the subject by reminding her father of her upcoming birthday celebration. Elsa is again invisible to them, just like how she was moments ago. While listening to Karen happily talking, Elsa remembers that her birthday has never been celebrated since it is also her mother's death anniversary. Elsa also recalls that even when she was sick as a child, nobody cared for her since all the attention was on Karen. Oh my gosh, Karen is living up to her name! She is such a spoiled brat! Noticing that Elsa isn't bothered by Karen, Karen starts to criticize Elsa by saying that she worries for her since she'll become a duchess despite being unable to use magic. Claudia chimes in, hoping Elsa won't embarrass their family in the Grand Duke's house. Duke Wallen sighs. He admits considering letting Karen marry the Duke instead. However, Karen and Claudia strongly object. Elsa feels sick about how they are willing to marry her off, but not Karen. She stands up, completely done with everyone. Just as she's about to leave the dinner table, she sarcastically tells Claudia that since they plan to use her to the very end, why doesn't she also use Claudia too? After all, the least she could do is to help her prepare for a perfect marriage. A month later, Elsa arrives at Duke Abel's mansion. Upon her arrival, the butler welcomes her, but she meets 2 little boys who do the opposite. They yell at Elsa, telling her that she's not welcome and that Duke Abel never mentioned getting married. She must be a fraud. Elsa is taken aback by how the 2 boys acted. She tries to calm them down, telling them to stop using dangerous magic. However, the older boy asks Elsa if she's just a commoner and incapable of magic. He remarks how someone like her can become an aristocrat and the wife of the Grand Duke. The butler approaches Elsa, informing her that they are Wilbert and Hugh, the children of the Grand Duke. Then everything starts to make sense. Elsa then realizes that Abel adopted the children of the former Duke, his own brother, so that would make her their adoptive mother. While processing everything, suddenly an ice pick zooms towards her direction, scratching her face. Wilbert's doing, no doubt. The 2 freeze upon realizing that they hurt Elsa. Wilbert ushers Hugh behind him, protecting him, thinking that Elsa might retaliate against them. Elsa gives them a soft gaze, approaching them and reassuring the boys that she's fine. Her smile surprises both boys. They never guessed she'd be that kind. The boys turn their attention back to the blood trickling down Elsa's face. Feeling bad, they quickly apologize for attacking her. They lead her to her room, promising to treat her wound. But she soon finds her whole head bundled up in bandages like a burrito. Seeing this, the butler apologizes for the inconvenience and informs Elsa that he thought the bride would arrive later. He also informs Elsa that Abel was supposed to return home last week, but he received a letter from Abel that he can't return as scheduled. Elsa questions the butler about how Abel can raise the boys without him present, which the butler agrees to. He then explains to her that due to the unstable situation at the border, Abel is often busy. Hearing this, Elsa develops a plan to bond and learn more about the boys. True to her word, Elsa tries everything to bond with the boys as the days pass. However, both Wilbert and Hugh reject her advances. Thus, Elsa asks the servants what the boys' favorite dish is, but the servants also don't know. Luckily, a muscular chef informs her that both like carrot cake but never ate it after their father died. That day, Elsa visits Wilbert in his study room and she quickly notices how stressed he is. When she is about to pat his head, Wilbert lashes out and tells her to get lost. As she leaves, Wilbert questions when she'll finally give up. But to his surprise, Elsa comes waltzing back in, smiling and bringing him a carrot cake. She encourages him to take a bite, to which Wilbert does. Progress, I guess? Elsa beams with joy as she sees Wilbert eating the carrot cake. She's relieved that he likes it. Unwilling to give in to her, Wilbert merely explains that he finished it only out of nostalgia. Hearing this, Elsa explains to him that she used the recipe from the Lucivor region, where Clara, Wilbert's mother, is from. She then asks him if it brought any good memories with his mother, to which Wilbert bitterly tells her no. Elsa's carrot cake is nowhere near his mother's. His mother's was dry and she wasn't a good cook. He lashes out again, angry at her for baking a delicious cake. In his tantrum, he mocks Elsa for learning how to cook instead of learning to use magic. Elsa exhales and she recounts her childhood to Wilbert. Her mother had died giving birth to her, and their maid, Marcia, stood as a mother figure for her. All of Elsa's tutors were given to her younger sister, so she had lots of time to kill. It was then that she found her passion for cooking and baking. Wilbert gives her a serious look, realizing how awfully her own family treated her. When she's about to leave, Wilbert tells her that he wants her to bake the cake again, which Elsa happily agrees to. As the days pass, Elsa notices that Wilbert has been avoiding her. She begins to think that she should give up and stop bothering him. Later that day, while walking down the hall, Elsa hears Hugh with his tutor. She cracks the door open, sneaking a peek. However, she is in shock to hear the tutor mistreating and berating Hugh. Unable to take it anymore, Elsa finally intervenes, shocking the tutor. Elsa starts defending Hugh despite the tutor's obvious objection to her being there. She tells the tutor that Hugh is only a child. Children have difficulty expressing their feelings, so if lessons are ineffective, it's the tutor's incompetence that's the problem. The tutor then asks who she is, thus Elsa introduces herself as Abel's fiancée. She then commands the tutor to leave since he's not worthy of being Hugh's tutor. Dang, she established herself hard. Suddenly, a tall man looms behind Elsa. Abel has come home. Nervous, Elsa gathers her courage and introduces herself to Abel as his fiancée by order of the Emperor. All the while, Abel remains emotionless to her words. Wilbert comes in and formally greets Abel. When he and Elsa make eye contact, Wilbert quickly looks away. Elsa is more nervous, but she quickly sees Hugh in the corner, tears in the corner of his eyes. Elsa musters the courage to speak up, admitting that the tutor is treating Hugh badly. Hearing of the claims of open aggression, the tutor is petrified. Without hesitation, Abel freezes the entire room, furiously grabbing the tutor by the neck and throwing him out. He warns him never to show his face again. The tutor deserves it. Abel then turns to Elsa and thanks her. Days later, the day of their wedding finally arrives. As Elsa is waiting outside the wedding hall, she realizes that it's been days since Abel returned and that they rarely see each other. Despite that, they're still getting married. Elsa sighs and she realizes that on this day, the polar night begins. For empires and grand duchies that worship the sun, the polar night is considered a symbol of undeniable prediction. It is said to weaken the power of the sun god, but they say polar nights can last for months in the Grand Duchy. Also, Elsa remembers that on the day of her birth and her mother's death, the longest polar night in history occurred in the capital. The door to the church opens and Elsa sees Abel waiting at the altar, looking dashing. She's about to walk toward him when a gust of wind and petals lift her up, blowing her to Abel's direction. Magic! When Abel holds her hand, his scars don't go unnoticed to her. After exchanging their vows, Elsa recognizes the need for her and Abel to discuss their plans moving forward. Suddenly, she also remembers others telling her that she must present herself to her husband on their wedding night, something Elsa is confident she'll manage. Earlier that night, Elsa was prepared to give herself to him, but to her dismay, Abel stops her. She nervously awaits for Abel to come back to their bedroom. When he arrives, she quickly thanks him, but Abel stops Elsa and tells her that she doesn't need to do it since he only married her because of the Emperor's order. He also informs Elsa that he will respect her position as a wife and do everything he can to ensure that she'll have no inconvenience. After hearing this, Elsa feels relieved. She expected him to be angry, but it was the opposite. She quickly realizes he is such a gentleman. Coldly, Abel tells Elsa that he doesn't plan to have any children, which Elsa agrees with since she thinks Hugh or Wilbert could inherit Abel's title. However, Abel clarifies that he also doesn't want Elsa to expect affection or love from him. She feels hurt to hear him say that, but she quickly stops Abel and asks him if he also feels the same way about his children. It turns out his attitude towards the children is as cold as his attitude towards her. With no emotion, he tells her that he's only fulfilling his duties as their new father. Elsa tells Abel that she can't blame or judge Abel's parenting methods, but still she thinks that the children need an adult to rely on. She becomes adamant on wanting to show her love to his children, even asking Abel to leave their upbringing to her. She aggressively asserts her point as she moves closer, causing them to fall onto the mattress. The two are in shock at their now intimate position, but suddenly Wilbert and Hugh barge into the room. Elsa quickly gets up and tries to explain to the boys. Due to her clumsiness, Wilbert thinks Abel plans to kick Elsa out immediately. In a panic, he convinces Abel that she always works hard, even tucking them in for sleep. Finally, he adds that Hugh can't even sleep at night without her. Abel stares at the boys and Elsa, amazed that they have grown so close to each other. Seeing the boys show strong emotions for Elsa, Abel decides that they all sleep together as a family that night, leaving Elsa and Wilbert in shock. "You brought it upon yourself by doing all that fake story, little Duke." Wilbert, Hugh, and Elsa find themselves in a little predicament. Moments ago, Abel was just telling her not to expect a grain of love and care, and now he's suggesting that they all sleep together? Unbeknownst to Elsa, Abel is thinking she's a spy. If she is such, then he can't leave the children alone with her. They all settle into the bed, with Elsa in between each kid. Seeing the kids sleep peacefully, she realizes just how tired they are. Abel stares at Elsa, making their ordeal more awkward. But Wilbert stirs in his sleep, mumbling not to drive Elsa away. Hearing this, Abel remarks that driving Elsa away is what it takes to get Wilbert's attention. Elsa gives Abel a stern look. Although Wilbert is hard to get along with, he desperately tries to grow up fast to cause Abel less trouble. But he's still a child, and Abel needs to be careful of how he acts around them. While trying to get some sleep, Abel remembers how Emperor Adler rejected his request to just stay home. Instead, he ordered him to marry. He couldn't do anything but heed his orders. Abel, his hands on his sleeping Elsa's neck, notices how easily he can break her if he wants. But in the end, he's a bad father, and she's trying to be a good mother for the children. The following morning, Elsa wakes up early, changes, and prepares for breakfast. However, there's a commotion in the room. When she opens the door, both little boys come running into her arms, afraid that she'd been kicked out in the night. Aw, Cutie Pie was worried. He is such a kid at heart. Wilbert is relieved to see Elsa. When Abel greets Elsa, Wilbert then realizes that Abel didn't try to drive her out, making Wilbert feel at ease. Abel thanks Elsa for supporting the kids. He's glad to know that she is not only in the role of a great duchess, but also as a mother to the kids. Hearing this, Elsa thanks him for accepting her. Abel and Elsa need to discuss some rules. Since they are married by the Emperor's order and grew up in different regions and cultures, Elsa also agrees to compromise. Their conversation is cut short when Hugh's stomach growls, hinting that it's time they all had breakfast first. After breakfast, Abel is about to start the discussion when Elsa erupts in a fit of sneezes. The butler hands her a cloth to keep her warm and comments that Elsa may not be accustomed to the weather since she's from the capital. Her clothing may also not be suitable for the weather here. Hearing this, Abel announces that they will shop for Elsa's clothes. Without second thoughts, Wilbert and Hugh volunteer to join. While shopping, Elsa is surprised to see the kids picking out a lot of dresses and hats for her. Abel, on the other hand, doesn't seem too bothered about the rising cost of everything. Elsa doesn't have the heart to decline the kids' choices, or else they'd feel hurt and rejected by her. Unknown to Elsa, Abel has been staring at her for a while now. He can only notice how pure and sincere she is with the kids. Oh boy, I think you're starting to fall for Elsa. Later that night, Elsa recalls Abel's second rule. Elsa can sleep with the kids, but only if they want to. However, once a week, Elsa and Abel must sleep in the couple's room for a joint report. Although this saddens Elsa, she is slightly confused too. Elsa opens her room's door, but an unpleasant surprise greets her. Karen! Seriously? Why is she here? Elsa, direct to the point, inquires Karen on why she's visiting. But shameless as ever, Karen dodges her question, admitting that she made her way into her room herself. She wastes no time in insulting Elsa's room. Karen turns her attention to Elsa's new gowns, a gift from Abel for sure. She remarks on their beauty, but when she tries to touch the gowns, Elsa stops her. Karen fakely tells Elsa that they are sisters after all, but Elsa reminds her that she, Karen, is the reason why she's here. She was forced into this marriage because Karen and Claudia objected for Karen to marry Abel. Karen then tries to change the subject, asking Elsa if she's been drinking the potion. After all, she needs it to be a perfect wife for Abel. Elsa affirms that she has been taking it properly and is only waiting for it to take effect. I think that potion is keeping Elsa's natural power. Next on Karen's agenda is to extort money from Elsa. Upon hearing her request, Elsa wonders why she couldn't just ask their father for money. Karen's patience is running out, and she throws Elsa's jewelry box to the floor, yelling at her to just shut up and do as she's told. Without hesitation, Elsa slaps Karen with full force, flatly rejecting her request. She reminds her that she has no business with them and that Karen should act appropriately and with respect. Her sister's changed behavior renders Karen speechless. That sister is so annoying. The slap that Elsa gave to her was satisfying. Immediately after, Elsa calls for the maid and instructs her to bring Karen to the maid's quarter. Karen is about to protest, but Elsa stands her ground, threatening if she would rather sleep outside. Humiliated, Karen stomps off, unable to do anything. While Elsa is fixing the mess Karen makes, Hugh slowly enters Elsa's room. Concerned, Elsa asks him what happened. Unable to answer her verbally, Hugh settles for acting out his problem. He's lost his favorite toy. Elsa remembers the last time Hugh held the toy in the carriage while sleeping beside her. She thinks that Hugh might have accidentally dropped it while returning to the house, or that the maids might have mixed it up in the shopping boxes. With no choice, the two start to search and open all the shopping boxes, but still to no avail. Hugh starts to feel sad, realizing that he may have lost it outside. Elsa glances outside the window, seeing that it's heavily snowing. Elsa shivers at the thought of going out there. Quick on his feet, Hugh quickly grabs them a set of fluffy coats. His thoughtful gesture warms Elsa's heart, earning Hugh a hug from her. While Elsa is hugging Hugh, she realizes that he and Wilbur may not look alike, but they sure do share the same traits. They are both sweet, smart, and kind. Still, Elsa feels sad when she remembers that Hugh doesn't speak verbally yet. She shakes her emotions off, positively telling Hugh that they will find his toy together. Outside, Elsa reminds Hugh to be careful since it's slippery. They leave no rock unturned as they search for his toy. Finally, they stumble across it under a heap of snow. Hugh quickly runs to the fireplace, but Elsa quickly pulls him away, alarmed at his proximity to the burning embers. She may not be able to use magic much, but she's not completely useless. Even with just little magical abilities, she uses it to warm both Hugh and his toy. Elsa notices a small wound on Hugh, and she uses the only magic she knew to heal it too. Finally, she suggests he take his toy up to the room to avoid losing it again. Hugh nods and moves closer, kissing her on the cheeks and catching Elsa in surprise. I'm crying because of the cuteness overload. The innocence and cuteness of Hugh sends Elsa on a cuteness overdrive. But mainly, she's happy because of the concern the young lord shows for her. Their heartfelt moment gets interrupted when a door nearby creaks open, scaring the two. A frightened Hugh asks if it's because of ghosts, but Elsa assures him that they're not real. She shares how she, as a kid, tried to get ghosts as her friends, even saying spells to attract them, to no avail. But Hugh gets startled by something behind Elsa, and it's revealed to be Karen. Elsa stares at her sister, who seems very out of it. I swear, something bad's about to happen. Elsa tries to be civil and introduces her younger sister to Hugh, even claiming that Karen is there because she's worried about her. But Karen doesn't acknowledge that, and just thrusts her hand with a rose in front of Elsa. With her magic, the rose starts to grow and its thorny branches are now pointed at Elsa. Apparently, Karen is there for only one thing, and it's to harshly demand money from Elsa. She even berates her for being useless and ruining a lot of people's plans. She mocks Elsa playing family there when her real family abandoned her, and her father as well. But all this time, Hugh is finding it hard to see Elsa getting insulted, and finally, he rushes towards Elsa, shielding her from the thorns while shouting that she's family. Finally, Hugh speaks out loud! A proud moment considering the circumstances. Still, Karen doesn't care and menacingly asks Hugh for help if he's family. But the young lord refuses, saying he hates Elsa's other family. And so confident that she'll be fine if she attacks Elsa and the non-speaking Hugh, Karen attacks them. But seeking to protect Hugh, Elsa grabs the thorns by her hands. Karen is about to intensify her attack when suddenly, an explosion of ice magic envelops the room while Rolf and the others rush in. Now, Hugh volunteers to explain everything using magic to conjure ice figurines. Hugh's little ice figurines, resembling himself, Elsa, and Karen, is able to perfectly recount the events that happened. He even speaks, saying Karen attacked them. Naturally, the spoiled Karen tries to deny it, but with a flick of Rolf's magic, ice forms over her mouth. Now, Elsa warns Karen with the same words she said earlier, but what's more menacing is Rolf saying he'll freeze Karen's nose if she speaks again. Oh, you look like a villain there, Rolf! Anyway, with Karen taken away, everyone gets a breather. Rolf praises Elsa, who had gone to Hugh to thank him, but cried like a baby because things ended up okay. Wilbert had to drag Elsa away, and he stands in front of his brother to tell him how proud he is. Wilbert didn't hesitate to praise Hugh for speaking, and his courage to stand up for Elsa. Aw, what a good older brother! Even the maid thanks Elsa for her actions and says that the Duke is also surely happy. But when Elsa looks at him, Rolf's eyes say the opposite. Anyway, Rolf approaches Elsa, bows to her, and thanks her for her efforts. Though he agrees that Elsa had put Hugh in a scary situation, he still thanks her for protecting him despite her own fears too. He thanks Elsa for allowing Hugh to speak, noting how he's not heard of his son's voice in a long while. Rolf takes her hand and heals her wounds using magic. Elsa notes how good a father Rolf is, who noticed Hugh speaking rather than the boy's magic. This makes Elsa wonder why his expression is that of sadness. With the fiasco now over, everyone heads to dinner, mainly because little Hugh announces he's hungry. Elsa notices that the shy Hugh ate more than usual, and with Karen now gone, she can look forward to a good resting sleep. However, just as Elsa goes out into the hall, she runs into Wilbert, who is staring out the window by himself. When he notices Elsa, he approaches her, and so saying that he has something urgent to talk to her about regarding his brother, Hugh. Wilbert is trying to say that Hugh is having trouble sleeping. Elsa knows this, thinking back to their carriage ride. What Wilbert is trying to say is perhaps Hugh will be able to sleep if Elsa's there, and so he asks for her help. Elsa doesn't refuse and even hugs Wilbert as part of her thanks for him showing her trust. The scene cuts to Hugh, who, as his brother says, is in bed but having trouble sleeping. Elsa enters his room, much to his delight. However, he stutters when trying to speak, making Elsa think he's not used to talking yet. Anyway, she asks permission if she can sleep by his side, and she gets blindsided when Hugh asks why. Not wishing to spill that Wilbert asked her to do so, Elsa's excuse is that she can't sleep without the cute boy. She does, however, include Wilbert in this, who's eavesdropping by the door. Finally, all three are in bed, but Elsa can't help Hugh's cuteness, which Wilbert understands, since he believes Hugh's born to be the cutest little brother. He even gets a photo album filled with Hugh's firsts. So basically, it's a night of praises for Hugh. On the album, Elsa sees Rolf with baby Hugh, and Wilbert comments how their father calms Hugh down whenever he cries. Unexpectedly, Hugh bursts into tears. Apparently, he blames himself for what happened to their mother, and consequently their dad. The poor boy wanted to apologize, but couldn't. This is where Elsa finds Hugh has a fear of rejection. Wilbert says to his brother nobody blames him, as their mother had bad health. Even she loves Hugh enough to make the toy he always has. Wilbert declares he'll not forget anyone that's blaming or hurting Hugh. The brothers, both in tears, embrace one another as Wilbert accepts Hugh's apology at his behest. The following morning, the brothers are adamant to talk to their father about something. Rolf can be intimidating to talk to, but Hugh steels himself because of his brother's support and wants to apologize. Apparently, the young boy believes he's the reason why his father keeps going away and not coming back. Bad memories rush in, and unknowingly, Hugh's magic creates an illusion of the Emperor, and it recounts all the bad things he said to the boy, particularly about him being the root cause of his father's absence. Of course, Rolf declares that this isn't true. He kneels to face his son and apologizes for not noticing Hugh's suffering. He urges Hugh to not blame himself, and using his own magic, gets rid of the illusion of the Emperor while assuring Hugh that ghosts aren't real. Elsa's so amazed that she says she'd like to be like Rolf, but funny enough, he discourages her. Anyway, Elsa notices the Duke's eyes again fill with sadness, but she didn't have time to ask about it because the boys notice the northern lights occurring on the outside sky. They all rush outside, and while a happy Elsa asks about it, Rolf explains it's a natural phenomenon, but they attribute it as a magic of God, a sign he's still watching over them. Elsa theorizes that it must be a blessing for Rolf and his kids reconciling. Rolf seems to like this notion. However, Elsa suddenly slips. Not to worry though, as Rolf catches her as she falls. Rolf also mentions the misunderstandings they've had the past days, with him not meeting her for a long time because of his missions. In fact, Elsa realizes that what the public perceives about the Duke and the real Rolf is vastly different. Even the Emperor acts very differently about this. So she makes it her mission to find out about why they got married, who the Duke is, and everyone else. But right now, it seems that the conversation has run its course, and so Elsa suggests they continue it in the evening, reasoning out that Hugh is due for his lunch. As she and the kids go towards the door, they look back and beckon Rolf to join them. Seeing his family like this finally brings a faint smile on Rolf's face. Gosh, smiling is better suited for that handsome face. While in this heartwarming moment, Elsa notes that for now, she just wants to be with her family, and that all their efforts into making this one isn't in vain. Aww. About a month and a half after her arrival, and a week after Rolf's return, Elsa has been officially recognized as the Duchess, Duke Rolf's wife, and lately she's been getting used to her new life. The head housekeeper, Zerke, gets introduced, and she is the one who is tasked with supporting the Duchess. But as of right now, she's under her guidance. With Zerke, Elsa watches and learns on how things are done, and from her, she sees that she's trustworthy. However, the tasks she's expected to do are actually getting increasingly difficult. Not that it's Zerke's fault, but still, Elsa knows no good will come from complaining, and so even when not at her desk, she's still busy. That's why when Hugh comes in to touch her face with a little magic, Elsa gets startled because she didn't notice. Hugh's just come from a walk wearing a cute bear outfit. With Hugh arriving, Elsa gets a break. But when she notices the boy coughing, she realizes Hugh's throat is sore since he isn't used to speaking yet. She goes out to make Hugh some tea, and with the help of Hugh's maid, is able to make a strong enough drink that soothes Hugh. Their tea time then becomes a regular thing between them. For Elsa, it's a rest from work. For Hugh, it's for training his throat. And they even include Wilbert, who's such a workaholic that tea time is his forced break. During one session, the kids mention how Elsa's preparations are going, and of course, she's clueless. Their reactions say it all, as they inform Elsa of Rolf's upcoming birthday party. Elsa rushes to Rolf's office, who's nonchalant about all this. Actually, Rolf had planned to inform her about this, as he again recalls the rules they've set for marriage. He'll always consult Elsa as his wife. However, his party includes nobles, where Elsa will be expected to demonstrate magic. This will serve as a test to see if Elsa can keep her duties and parental duties. But Elsa shows her determination, saying she'll do it. Her determination brings a little glimmer of amusement in Rolf's eyes. How cute! Apparently, it's not only her and Hugh that's going to be preparing, but Wilbert as well. Wilbert's incredibly confused as to what Elsa thinks he's supposed to do, and both her and Hugh's face teasing him about it doesn't help. So Wilbert explodes, urging them to just tell him. Apparently, it's just about Wilbert's likes and dislikes on food and his tendency to be a picky eater. And so all three of them, along with some of the top maids and cooks, gather at the table to discuss how to get Wilbert to eat things. Poor Wilbert's the only one with an uncomfortable face. When Elsa asks for a volunteer from the group to speak on the matter, Zerke raises her hand, but it's actually to ask permission to leave since she has no say on what to do with Lord Wilbert. After she leaves, Elsa asks for a report on Wilbert's meals, even though she looks sheepish as Zerke made her leave. Anyway, the chef reports that the boys' meals are made of a balanced diet, mainly with vegetables. However, Wilbert's plate always has large chunks of leftovers, and many of them are the aforementioned vegetables. Hugh's plate, however, is very clean. With this information, Elsa tries to think hard on what to do, when suddenly Rolf shows up out of nowhere, leans close to Elsa, and tells her not to worry. Apparently, he too was a picky eater before, but he was able to turn that around because of a certain event in his life. So he asks Elsa not to worry about Wilbert not eating them as of now. The curious Wilbert, perhaps seeking to solve his problem too, asks his father what happened as to why he started eating vegetables. A sad look envelops Rolf's face as he recounts the reason as being Clara, Wilbert's mother. She had eaten them with such enthusiasm that he hadn't noticed he started to eat them too. Rolf also notes that Elsa is the same, eating food with such enthusiasm. Though in Elsa's case, it's because the food's tasty. With that said, Wilbert asks Gita to fetch some vegetables and asks Elsa to try them. After seeing her do so, he painstakingly did too, and proclaims that from now on, he'll eat pickles, provided it's mixed with something. The head chef then asks if Rolf wants a drink, and the Duke asks for Gorg. After recounting Rolf's preference of cheese with the drink, Elsa is troubled, remembering the chef's words that it's Duke Bertha who disliked vegetables. Elsa's stirring in bed, unable to sleep because of the day's anomalies. She knows Duke Bertha was Rolf's older brother and the previous Duke. She finds it confusing as to why Rolf would describe him just like Bertha. Anyway, she can't ask him about that or even the Emperor's incident with Hugh. Apparently, during her first time reporting to Rolf, Elsa had asked about his relationship with the Emperor, and to answer that, she was given tons of books to read about the history between the Emperor and the Grand Duke. But try as she might, this will take too long. About 6 months. Besides, she is busy. Not only does she have to prepare for the party, but a lot of things require her attention. Things like winter food supplies, magic inflations, international relations, and tributes to the Emperor. With that, she decides to trust that this will take time. But she changes her mind the next minute, apparently vexed because she hasn't got the patience for it. Jeez, make up your mind, Elsa! And so, the following morning, she takes Wilbert and Hugh out to the city for a walk. She wants to check on a lot of things, but mainly the history and memories of the city. Hugh points to a tree just as Wilbert's rebutting Elsa's little quest. So Wilbert explains that the tree is the capital's namesake, Snowbell, named for its flowers during winter. However, a citizen notices Elsa, and upon learning she's the Duke's wife and from the Empire, kneels despite carrying a baby. Despite Elsa's refusal for such a display, the other citizens followed suit. Wilbert explains this is exactly why they can't learn the city's memories by being there. As being nobles, they'll bother the civilians' daily lives because they aren't the same. With that, he suggests they leave. That is, until he sees a couple of boys playing happily in the snow. Even Hugh does too. Elsa knows that the boys want to play but can't, so she intervenes by joining the civilian boys first. And this amazes Wilbert and Hugh for Elsa's fairness amongst all people. She also is about to succeed in getting the duty-first Wilbert to join, but it seems the other kids goading might do it. However, Rolf appeared suddenly, again, and had heard the kids teasing of his sons. Naturally, the intimidating presence of the Duke with his men is enough to frighten the kids, but they seem to not recognize Rolf. And so Gustav introduces him, and the poor kids immediately apologize. Rolf doesn't react badly and asks what happened. Elsa steps in, saying she joined the kids' game to learn their culture, and as a way to help get experience for the boys. She even gets Hugh and Wilbert to participate in this so they could play. Now that it's all cleared up, Elsa does another shocking thing. She invites Rolf to play with them. What's more shocking is that because they're done touring the city, Rolf agrees. And boy, does this snowball game get serious. 2 teams compete for the flag, or for the most remaining members, with Team Snow consisting of Elsa, Hugh, the red-haired civilian kid, and Gustav, and Team Wolf with Rolf, Wilbert, and the rest of the kids. Funny enough, Gustav wonders why he's playing too. Even with the 2 grown men handicapped by not being able to use their dominant hand, they're still the best players on each team. Rolf doesn't even hold back at the kids. But what's more important is that the kids are having fun and bonding, so Elsa's happy. All that's left is to do her best, but unfortunately, she sucks at this game. Tragedy strikes even more when Gustav gets eliminated and Elsa's face-to-face with Rolf. Too late does she realize that he's serious when it comes to battles. In a last-ditch attempt, Elsa rushes forward throwing snowballs but trips and is saved by Rolf from falling. The 2 tumble down the snow-laden ground, with Elsa in Rolf's arms. It gets interrupted, though, when Rolf is eliminated from the game, and Elsa remarks about his strange attitude, and she notices something different with Rolf's hair. That's when Viggo, one of the kids, falls down the ice into the water, and the family rushes forward to save him, exclaiming that their magic is for the protection of the people. Soon enough, Viggo's uncle and Chris, that's the red-haired kid, rush to his side. They know to have him warm up quickly, but discover that Viggo's not even wet, all thanks to Elsa. In his relief, Viggo's uncle, Adam, grabs Elsa's hand to thank her for saving Viggo. When the townsfolk remind him that she's the Duke's wife, Adam lets go, but Elsa grabs his hands again and introduces herself by her name, and all members of her family. She even fixes Rolf's hair back to his messy one. Perhaps trying to give him confidence in his own image rather than trying to look like Bertha. But really, Elsa does a good job to show the Grand Duke's family is approachable. So much so that when Elsa starts sneezing, the townspeople immediately lead them to a fire they've made. But unfortunately, not everyone's okay right now. As Wilbert looks on the happy crowd, he can't help but note feeling something other than happiness again. His thoughts get interrupted, however, when his scarf flies away because of a strong gust of wind, and it lands on a cat. Of course, the cat panics and runs away, so Wilbert gives chase. When he did catch up to it, his scarf was already torn. Now alone, the boy's feelings get the better of him, finding it hard to become as tough and strong as his father. Wilbert then notices the snowbell, planted during holidays to celebrate and remind people they matter. Tears fall down his eyes as he wrongfully believes it isn't Elsa that's unnecessary, but rather him. Oh, poor Wilbert! Suddenly, a hug finds Wilbert from behind. It's from Elsa, who's worried sick when he disappeared. Rolf also arrives, who manages to calm Elsa down. They notice Wilbert's not okay and ask him of it. The young boy, with difficulty, says he'd like to plant a snowbell during the celebration, and seeking to cheer his boy up, Rolf assures him that they'll celebrate family holidays from now on. Even though things ended well, Elsa remarks she'll never be a good Grand Duchess like that in an instant, and so she seeks out Zerke and asks her to take her as a student to become better at her position. Madame Zerke is a little shocked by Elsa's request to become her student. Apparently, the lady had assessed that everyone in the castle is kind and well-mannered towards her, and only Zerke's not. As such, she will judge her accordingly, and getting her to praise her is validation for Elsa to be worthy as the Grand Duke's wife. As for Zerke, she admits that Elsa was charming and understanding, but she still is hesitant to trust the lady simply because she's there at the order of the Emperor. But nonetheless, as she points out, Lady Elsa doesn't need to ask permission because she's the lady of the house. Elsa asks if Zerke's finally agreed to her request, and the wise madam replies only if her lady wishes it. With that, Elsa becomes Zerke's student. She admits the lady doesn't reek of bad intentions, but she's still immature to protect her master and the duchy, so this'll be a good opportunity to gauge Elsa. They start by assessing the carrying of supplies within the warehouse of the castle. Apparently, their home houses supplies for the entire duchy for emergencies, and for winter, which was done by the previous manager also. It's quite easy enough to do so because of the Grand Duke's magic, and it's also why no commoners with their limited magic are able to do so. A curious Elsa asks why the duchy doesn't maintain warehouses throughout the iceberg, but Zerke reveals the complications between the Grand Duke and the Emperor. The former cannot obey the latter, whose order is to not use magic for the commoners. Since Grand Duke Abel wants to protect his duchy from the Emperor, he has no choice but to comply. That's when Elsa got the idea to make canned and preserved foods. For days, she experiments with drying, fermenting, and the like, with the help of the cute boys, until finally creating fish and chips using little magic. Even Zerke's impressed. Lady Elsa found a way to help the commoners preserve food on their own without breaking the Emperor's mandates. That evening, Elsa's enjoying tea all by herself in her room. She's proud of herself, but tonight is the allotted day for the weekly report. Elsa's not nervous sleeping on the same bed as her husband, who rises early in the morning too, but rather, it's the first report since she's become Zerke's student. As the maid who helped her bathe pointed out, the madam had huge stacks of paper for the report. Soon enough, Duke Abel arrives and the two share a cup of what Elsa's drinking. Elsa had begun talking, particularly of her canned goods initiative, and asked Abel about Zerke's report. Actually, the madam had reported that Elsa isn't a spy, and what's more, can be a valuable asset or partner at the Grand Duke's side because of her thoughtfulness for the people. Perhaps even more than just a partner. But of course, Abel only says that Zerke reports that Elsa's trying, and in his own opinion, she's doing great. Of course, this comes as a relief to Elsa. Abel makes mention of wanting to use his magic for good, like Elsa and his brother. Elsa, not believing such a compassionate man could be framed for his brother's death, suggests to Abel that they make something good with their magic together. And so they did create a lot of sweets, which Elsa happily ate, although Abel politely declined. Also, Abel thinks most of his relatives are bad-mannered, so he'll refrain from inviting them to the wedding, knowing the judgment Elsa might face. Yet still, Elsa faced that prospect with a happy disposition, saying she'll make sure she'll give a good impression. Her cheerfulness, and the fact that Elsa wants to invite Hugh and Wilbert to their tea because their dad made the sweets, puts a smile on Abel's face, and he offers Elsa a reward. Apparently, both his father and brother constantly showered their significant other with gifts, and now he's starting to see why. He asks Elsa what she wants, and she mentions remembering being lifted and caressed as a child. Suddenly, Abel stands over her and hugs her tightly. A shared embrace happens between the soon-to-be officially married couple. Finally some romantic moments. Elsa can't comprehend Abel's sudden action, so she just sat there with his arms wrapped around her. It's like she lost the ability to think and all the blood is in her face. Understandably so when someone as hot as the Duke suddenly embraces you. Elsa tries to speak, but Abel continues on, lifting her into his arms, just like she had wanted. Naturally, this sends Elsa into another frenzy, thinking about how Abel doing this might indicate their relationship becoming more married-like. But as Abel sets her down and says that they should go to bed, it's clear that it'll be a long way for that. But it's heading there surely. Now though, Elsa's in bed feeling sheepish while Abel sleeps. Hilarious. The following morning, Elsa gets woken up by Zerke and Thomas giving an urgent report to Abel. It seems that his parents who had reached Lumi village will be due to arrive at the mansion soon, and that there's an order to eliminate bandits near the village of Roska. Even Elsa takes a minute to catch up, and she soon summarizes the day's task: to meet Abel's parents, to prepare for Abel's expedition to engage the bandits, and to engage with Abel's parents once there. Abel assures Elsa and the rest that he's confident in preparing for his own work, so that leaves only his parents for Elsa. Abel orders a list of likes and dislikes for Elsa's use. The kids suggest Elsa's cod dish, but Abel reminds them that his mother is shying away from such foods due to her health. However, Elsa's more curious why Abel seems to be packing more than he needs. Abel reveals that he doesn't rely on magic, but rather his own strength for the people, and he also doesn't bother them even to ask for a place to sleep in the middle of winter. Elsa realizes even more how mistreated Abel is by the Empire that accuses him of murdering his brother, so at the very least, she assures him not to worry about his parents because everyone will be dependent for him. And so, everyone goes about their job while Hugh asks a favor to Elsa. Soon enough, Abel's parents have arrived at the mansion with an air of nobility like we've never seen before. Elsa has both admiration and wariness at the arrival of the Duke's parents. Abel greets his parents first, though his father seems saddened seeing his son dressed for a mission. Elsa herself tries to introduce herself, but the old couple look hesitant to talk to her more than they should. It's the kids that manage to soften the hearts of their grandparents. They made a cute welcome home card, with the help of Elsa that is, which was enough that their grandmother stooped down to hug them. Elsa and the kids had made a sun talisman for Abel too, that is, despite their poor magic skills. Abel doesn't even let Elsa finish talking as he grabs her hands. While staring longingly in her eyes, Abel is about to speak, but gets interrupted by his parents who indicate they'd like to enter the mansion. With that, he has to go to his mission while the rest of his family shuffle towards the entrance, all the while leaving Elsa confused on what Abel was about to say. Fortunately, Hugh and Wilbert are there to cheer her up. And she's gonna need it because what happens next is wild. The three find a random red-haired lady, a noble as well, inside the mansion. Wilbert greets her coldly, in fact saying she isn't invited yet but is here all the same. This is none other than Lady Idona, who Elsa finds out had a promise with Abel that they'll be the ones to marry. This shatters Elsa, and she gets more disheartened when Lord Stefan and Lady Evelina, Abel's parents, recognize and seem more accepting of Lady Idona. It dawns on Elsa that there are other people who like Abel. Finally, Lady Idona asks who she is, and she proclaims she's Abel's wife. Lady Idona has the audacity to call her a spy from the Empire and unworthy of being a Grand Duchess. Fortunately for Elsa, the kids step in to defend her, even shy little Hugh, and even the personnel of the castle get behind Elsa when Wilbert announces that she's family. With her newfound confidence, Elsa again proclaims her status as Abel's wife, and asks Lady Idona what it takes to be the Grand Duchess because Elsa would like to learn it. Taken aback by Elsa's genuineness, Idona starts getting mad, but is stopped by Lady Evelina, who promises to teach Elsa what it takes to be a Grand Duchess. Elsa seems in awe that Lady Evelina, of all people, would agree to teach her the ways of being a Grand Duchess, but the lady is adamant. Naturally, Elsa is ecstatic, so Evelina announces they'll begin as soon as the celebration ends. Surprisingly, Lady Idona volunteers to be taught as well, proudly declaring she'll show Elsa up. But Elsa welcomes her genuinely, and where Idona sees a rivalry for the Duchess position, Elsa sees a companion. Their lessons begin with music and dance, both of which Elsa apparently sucks at. Edona wastes no time to reprimand her of this, and funny enough, our Elsa agrees to her insults. But even she isn't without faults, as pointed out by Lady Evelina. However, the kind-hearted Elsa points out that Edona excels at dancing and praises her for it. Although Lady Edona isn't keen on accepting Elsa no matter what, all for the sake of the Duchess position. I'm sure Elsa will still win her over, though. Anyway, the three continue on with their lessons, and the two ladies are clearly giving their all. Fortunately, Elsa does excel at something, and that's sewing. She's good enough that Evelina admits she doesn't need any instruction, which Elsa credits to her learning from books. Edona, however, struggles at this, and while Evelina reiterates the importance of such a skill in being a duchess, Elsa tries to give Edona tips. Unfortunately, Edona sees this as Elsa mocking her, but being a genuinely nice person, Elsa explains that because of her lower ranking, she's delighted now that she gets to learn with someone akin to a friend. Even Edona's taken aback with how nice our female lead is. And so Edona covers Elsa's mouth to end the conversation. However, Evelina had heard the girls saying they're friends, and so decided to have them talk of a very interesting topic. Love. The poor boys who tried to enter the room even got turned away by their grandma, who jumped at this opportunity for a girls' talk. Lady Evelina notes that something is missing for their girls' talk. So within minutes of calling the maids for instructions, the room has turned pink and girly. Talk about setting the mood! And as per Evelina, the only thing to do is talk about love. Naturally, Elsa and Edona have different reactions to this. Poor Elsa's innocence is overthinking on what Lady Evelina might talk about. Actually, what her mother-in-law asks is of her opinion about her son Rolf, or Abel. Elsa finds this difficult to answer as she remembers all the sweet moments between them. That hug, ugh! So she answers that she's unsure of Rolf. Truthfully, they haven't spent enough time together, but she notes discovering something new about him every time, like his delight at being similar to Hugh. Edona also proclaims she knows Rolf better, such as his preference for sweets. A saddened Elsa thinks back to all the times Rolf refused to eat sweets with her. Anyway, Evelina points out that it's Elsa who's a perfect companion for her son, seeing as she doesn't love Rolf and is hardworking and honest. Love is a good topic, but Evelina believes it'll get in the way, which is why Elsa, who's without love for Rolf, is the perfect candidate. Is that a compliment? Whatever the case, Elsa makes it known that the assumption is wrong. She sees Rolf's kindness and admits to wanting to get to know him better. Even Edona shouts that Rolf is a great duke despite his rumored troubles. And on that one, the two ladies agree. Edona's still belittling Elsa's lack of knowledge about him, though. Meanwhile, Lady Evelina's eyes soften, and she thinks finally her son will not be alone. On the other side of the door, Rolf stands blushing his face off. He can clearly hear the ladies talk about him and his good deeds. Suddenly, Elsa announces that since tea time is over, she'll check up on the kids and decides to leave the room. Because of that, before she and Rolf know it, she has caught him accidentally eavesdropping on their conversation. Elsa warmly greets her husband, and Rolf seems to take it all in stride since Elsa's still clueless. That is, until Elsa realizes that Rolf standing there must have heard all the things they've discussed. Oh, the secondhand embarrassment I feel from this is too much. Fortunately, both Lady Evelina and Edona rush forward to greet Rolf too, though Rolf's annoyed Edona's there again. She tries to talk to him, but Rolf stops Edona and addresses Elsa directly to have dinner prepared since he'll be sending a report to the Emperor. His blank eyes make Elsa remember Evelina's words, that love is a hindrance. Even Rolf warned her not to expect too much. Elsa's depressing thoughts show in her face, enough that Rolf notices it. And so in a bid to assure her, he grabs Elsa in a romantic way and introduces her formally to his mother and Edona as his wife. He explains that she has a lot to do because of his absence and asks them to support Elsa like family. Finally, he declares that his wife is no one else but Elsa. Oh my gosh, Rolf does have his moments to completely charm us, doesn't he? With Rolf's proclamation, even Edona turns genuinely friendly towards Elsa. However, instead of being happy, Evelina's expression turns cold as she remarks that Rolf is now resembling Berta, her eldest deceased son. Although Rolf takes this as a compliment, his mother's eyes stay hardened. Perhaps Evelina's traumatized seeing her son in love, seeing as what happened to Rolf's older brother. Anyway, evening comes and Rolf and Elsa talk a little before bed. Elsa excitedly recounts her training with Evelina. However, Rolf, despite sharing how his trip went and how Elsa's canned products helped his soldiers immensely, isn't great at sharing details of his mission, much to Elsa's annoyance. And so, noticing Rolf's hair, Elsa asks if he's taken a bath yet. Rolf gets conscious about it, thinking that he smells enough that he offers to sleep in another room. Actually, Elsa's comment is pertaining to his hair since he styles it after bathing. But she knows it'll be too tiring to do so Elsa informs Rolf to rest as she's warmed up the blanket for him. As a compromise, Rolf says he'll sleep after drinking something, so Elsa happily volunteers to prepare one. While alone, Rolf contemplates Elsa, who he thought was the perfect future duchess because she's indifferent to him and is hardworking. Now he realizes Elsa isn't that. Perhaps more? His thoughts get interrupted by Elsa's arrival, and on top of her bubbly nature, the smell of the drink she bought seems to lighten Rolf's mood. Apparently, Elsa has taken great lengths to prepare Rolf some hot chocolate. When he asks why, Elsa notes that he did like them before, so she made some. She even asks him about what kind of hot chocolate he likes, since he's known to have preferred them as a child. After a while, Rolf answers that he prefers the coffee flavor. But even Elsa knows that's a lie. Rolf's only saying that because Berta used to like that flavor. After some silence caused by Rolf's lie, Elsa excuses herself to go heat the chocolate up, and finally, Rolf tries some. He notes that Elsa's chocolate was sweet, but not as sweet as he used to drink them, filled with cream and honey. He does pick up some aroma from the drink, which Elsa proudly attributes to orange and rum. Rolf says the drink is invigorating, and after taking another sip, proclaims it's amazing, with the kind of smile a kid might have after getting sweets. Except Rolf is handsome as hell! Anyway, Elsa misinterprets this as him calling her amazing, and when he corrects that, Elsa's body embarrassingly jerks. Unfortunately, this results in the jar from her hand filled with hot chocolate to slip as she starts to fall too. It's a good thing that Rolf is there to catch both Elsa in his arms and the jar using his magic. He reasons not letting Elsa get hurt while also not wanting to waste her chocolate. And so Rolf suggests the two turn in for the night. As Elsa sleeps, rather jittery, mind you, Rolf remembers Elsa's praises for him earlier. He even adjusts Elsa's blanket just as she said he does at night. However, when the following morning arrives, Elsa doesn't get much rest, but chooses to power through the preparations. Even Adona's there to help her with the designs, despite not dropping her slightly antagonistic characteristics. But they're friends now. Anyway, everyone, even the boys, are hard at work for their preparations, and that leaves only Elsa's performance of magic. Adona theorizes she'll do great because she's from a magically inclined family. But even with enhancers, Elsa still sucks. But not to worry, the boys declare that they have a plan. Lords Wilbert and Hugh have a secret plan to enact for Elsa, but in actuality, it's just everyone doing all they can to help her. First comes a little history lesson, wherein Wilbert explains that in the age when the continent was split into empires, aristocrats proved their worth and status in battle, and these magic techniques for that gets passed down from family to family, meaning Elsa can't do magic like them since she doesn't have the theories nor the practice for that. So the boys resort to their plan. Have Elsa pretend she can use magic, but have the servants willingly generate the magic for her. Unfortunately, Lady Adona is quick to point out the flaws of the plan. For one, Elsa's a bad actor. Another point is that magic from maids is different from magic of the nobles. While everyone's contemplating this, Elsa can't help but think back to her childhood, where she was left out of the training by her stepmother, mockingly saying she'll only be able to do so if she learns magic herself. Against all odds, Elsa did generate magic, though at a minuscule level. But only irritation is seen on her stepmother's face, and they mock Elsa nonetheless. Not one to wallow in despair, back in the present, Elsa instead asks all her allies and companions to teach her magic. But try as they might, Elsa still can't do it. When she tries to apologize, Wilbert chides her for it, saying that as family, it's natural they'll help her, no apologies needed. Even Hugh gives Elsa a hug to comfort her. Despite not wanting to be where she wants, there's still progress. Soon enough, Elsa finds herself alone at night, the very night before Rolf's birthday and her evaluation. She tries to check if her magic did improve, only to be startled by Rolf, who calls Elsa by her name from behind her.
So guys, what do you think of the story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one.